It's Linda MacPhee's workshop. Here's Linda.
That music always gets me playing the piano, and I love to play the piano, although that wasn't me playing the piano. But I found somebody who's just about as crazy as playing the piano and doing stuff as I am, and it's Ellen Pfalzgraff, and you love to braid rugs.
I do.
And what got you going? What started you on this?
Well, really, I've always admired the look of the braided rug and how it fits in the decor of my own home. I'd always wanted to make my own. I found it very difficult to find a class, but eventually did.
I sort of always thought if you could braid, I mean, you braid. Does that mean that there's something tricky about this? I mean, it's just braiding, isn't it?
It's not tricky, but there are a few tricks
things that
of
we
the
should
trade
know.
that allow you to build a beautiful rug that lays flat, looks gorgeous.
Okay, so as long as you've got the old braid hair technique, that's the basic thing.
It is simple.
So this is not rocket science, this is what you're saying. Anybody?
It's for the craft challenged.
Okay. So, and you don't really even have to do a lot of sewing on this.
Nope. Even if your seams aren't
So what are the prerequisites?
straight.
What do you have to be able to do?
Cut some fabric.
Okay.
Sew a mostly straight seam.
Okay.
And have a little bit of patience.
Okay,
Patience
and
is
rip.
probably
You said ripping is big.
Ripping is big too, yeah. If you like to rip.
Okay.
Ripping, yeah.
All right. So the supplies that we need then are some kind of fabric. What kind of fabrics have you used?
My favorite fabric is wool, and the reason I like wool is it wears the best. You put a fair bit of time into building a rug, and so I like a fabric that's going to last me.
And when you're saying wool, are you saying new wool, or are you saying recycled wool, or
you can do, again, I prefer new wool, but you can use recycled wool. This little piece here is actually a seat cushion that was made from old skirts that I got at the second-hand store.
Sure, so there could be some great satisfaction in using old then.
Absolutely, and when you're first learning, you're not sure about the investment in new wool. A rag piece is lovely, and it has, of course, an extra special country look to it.
Sure. I kind of remember the old days when they used nylons and stuff like that. I mean,
I hear that comment a lot. Oh, my mother used to make these out of nylons. Yeah, it's very common. I think they lasted forever.
Forever and ever. Right. Sure. Okay, and you've also used some fleece, I think.
Yes, this is a fleece rug, and the thing about fleece is, first of all, you want to make sure you pick a high-quality fleece.
Okay.
That doesn't
non-pill,
non-crush. That really makes a help. It just helps you so much. And also, when you're shopping for fleece, you want to make sure that on the bolt, it all looks the same weight. You get out down there and start braiding, and it can be very different. So try to stick with the same brand of fleece.
And the same weights.
And the same weights, exactly. And the other tip about doing one out of polar fleece is to make sure that when you cut your strips, that you need to cut.
I brought a piece of fleece just so that you can sort of see. Okay.
It's a stretchy fabric, right?
So here is a chunk.
And this is selvage here.
Yes, and selvage over here.
Normally you cut fabric selvage to selvage. And if you do that with fleece, that's the stretchiest way to run that fabric. So if you want to do a fleece one, you want to cut along
the selvages,
lengthwise. Yes, lengthwise. Absolutely.
We have less.
So there's less stretch this way. It still stretches. So you caution's the word there. You don't want to pull your fabric too tight.
Okay. So how wide then do we have to cut these pieces?
Depending the look you want. Like this rug has a little finer braid to it. Those were cut at this is wool. It was cut 1.5 inches wide. This is Anyway, and this one I think was 4 centimeters, 4.5 centimeters, maybe 5 even. So it's a little chunkier look.
So
this is a cabin look. About 2 inches there.
So it doesn't really matter. Is that what you're saying?
No, you can be very flexible. The only thing is whatever fabrics you combine, you want the weight of what you're braiding, the 3 pieces that you're braiding, to feel the same. Okay. So that's the challenge with using rags. Some rags are heavier than others, so you want to adjust the width of your cut to make sure that when you're braiding, it all comes out looking and feeling the same. Exactly.
Okay. So once we've got some fabric, we need this stuff, I think.
Right.
This is the secret to all this,
right.
Is it?
Well, it's a secret, and you don't have to use these, but I think they speed up the process.
I can see that.
Anyway, these essentially take the fabric and roll a flat, wide piece of fabric in on itself so that you don't have any exposed edges.
Have you got an end that we could even...
Yep, let's try this.
Sure.
I'll just... this one. So we just take the fabric...
And you'd stick it in
roll it in there.
It's kind of obvious. It has to
and
go
I
in
use
there,
my thumb to push it out the front.
Yeah, and we'll pull that.
Pull that forward. Now this little device here is tension control.
Okay.
So go ahead and...
So when this pulls through, then it just folds it all.
It folds it all inside itself, and it's when it's folded like this, we call it a tube. And then 3 tubes you braid together to make the braid. And again, here's the tension control. If you get the tension right, just like with the sewing machine, it's going to make the braid look a lot more consistent.
And,
you get a nice consistent braid when your tension's correct.
Okay.
And there it is, folded in on itself.
Okay, so that's what we would do the first thing. First thing is find 3 colors, or it could be the same color, I guess, or whatever.
Whatever, right. That's the fun part. You can just do whatever. Yeah, 3 strips of fabric, though.
Okay, and we'd thread them into this.
Thread them into that, right.
Okay.
So you'd have 3 threaded.
I'll take that off.
Then you take the first 2, and pretending your tools are already here, you're going to stick your right sides together, make a diagonal seam as if you were doing bias tape or something.
Right. Okay, so they're stitching right there. Flip that out, and so this is how we would join the pieces as well.
The first 2 strips.
But I'm thinking if you want to keep adding on to something, would you do the same thing?
I do the same type of seam every time. So as I need to lengthen this as I go along, absolutely. And the reason for the diagonal seam is it's stronger and it hides the seam better as you work.
Okay, so we've done that. Now what?
Well, then of course you would trim this off, open it up, and then the next step is right here. And all you're doing there after you've trimmed it is I fold this in on itself and just hand stitch this down, tack it down.
Because this is the very center. This is the very beginning
of the rug.
Okay.
And I have attempted not doing this. Just do it. If you're going to try this, it doesn't pay to skip steps at the beginning.
All right. Good idea. Just believe her.
Believe me, I've failed numbers of times.
Okay, good.
So you tack that down, and you can see here's your diagonal seam right there. And then you take your third color, again, having loaded the tool on. I just use a hidden stitch to create the tube. And I place, you want that tube to be placed right in the center of that diagonal seam.
Sure.
So that goes here. You fold this down over.
Okay.
And now you have to hand stitch again.
To hold that center.
To hold this in. And you should come along here, go along this side, come around to the back, making sure you connect this and back. Again, I've tried skipping this. I've tried skipping it and don't. And so when those are all placed together, then what you come up with is a T-shaped piece like this. And here it is with the tools loaded on. And that's called the T-start. Okay. So now we're ready to braid. Isn't that hard? Are we going here?
I think we can do this. I've got this figured out, yes.
Great. Now you like to bring the tools up a little closer to where I'm working, then they're most effective. That's one of the things that students need to remind themselves to not to let the tool get too far away from where they are, because it doesn't help them.
Right, because it'll all unravel. I would
imagine. Yeah. And so what we're going to do is, I'm a right-handed person, so I take these folds that the tool has made.
Being the seam that you stitched, but the fold is
the fold is there too. And I want mine to always lay to the left as a right-handed braider. If you're left-handed, you want it to go the other way. And I just take this over the top like a regular braid. Now, if I bring this over like a regular braid, though, that means my fold's going that way.
And you don't want that. So
at the very beginning of an oval rug, you just flip this over the top, like so, and that creates what's called the sore thumb.
Okay.
And now you're ready to go, because all my seams, my folds are going that way. Exactly. And I just begin to braid.
Okay, so if I was to start a center, I mean, how do I decide that the center is the center, or whatever? I can do a round one or an oval one?
Right, round, oval, whatever, even the heart rug.
You have a little technique, which I don't think we have time to go into, but you have a little technique of starting in the
now
center.
on an oval rug, you create some length, a distance, and then you go around the corner. To go around the corner on an oval, you need to adjust your braiding slightly. You need to do what's called a double over. You do 1, 2, you do one of those and pull this down. You do a second one and pull it down like so. And that creates a 180 for you. Sends your braid back the other way without crumpling. This is one of the secrets of braiding that you would learn in a class.
And you want it to be nice and flat. And
it helps it lay beautifully flat.
Okay, once we've got all this braid, now how are we going to put it together?
Well, that's called lacing. Now, historically, a lot of the people who made braided rugs hand-stitched.
Yes.
And that created a rug that was one-sided usually, because the stitching would show on one side. But this is another technique called lacing. This is called a braidkin lacer. And you can see I'm using just a cording of some kind. I use cotton carpet warp, something that's strong and not too thick, but thick enough to keep you working. And you can see that it's coming out of it here. What I do to lace is I send the lacer through the entire loop. I'm not piercing any fabric. It just came out of this one.
So let's go
alternate to the outside. And as you pull it down, you can see it slides right down in between the loops. It disappears.
And I can see you're going to go through this one next.
Exactly.
Oh, I think
this is the fun part for me. I really enjoy.
Yeah. And every once in a while, I think you were saying probably you'll have to ease this a little bit so that it's...
Exactly. Whenever you're on a curved surface like this, you're eventually, if you don't, you're going. This is the other thing that happens to braiders is they don't get enough easing in it.
Become a bowl.
Exactly.
That's okay too. So
if you want a bowl, that's great. That's perfect. Okay. So to
actually, Ellen, we're running out of time, and I think we've got the idea. I think that's basically it. And there are books on this, aren't there?
Right. There is a book out.
Yeah. And we'll have that information in our accompaniment that goes with this program. So I think this is wonderful. You've got me going. I'm excited about braiding, and thank you for coming.
You're welcome.
Okay, and we're going to have some more fun stuff next. I love the craziness of sewing, and making costumes has always been one of my greatest delights. So when my daughter-in-law Pam said that she threw a Halloween party for babies, I said, I've got to get in on this. I've got to see it. So she actually had some pictures, and you, Nicole, were actually at that party with your baby.
Yes, it was a hoot. It was just the best idea. And there must have been 20 babies there.
Here is Pam and Warren with my little granddaughter, and then here is, and they were all under the age of...
I would say 3, 4.
Wow.
Yeah, and there must have been loads, so it was a lot of fun.
Isn't that fun? So you've brought your baby.
This is Aiden in a baseball outfit.
Could we stand him up and see what it looks like?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes, that's good. Oh, that's really good. Yeah, you like that. And you've got the baseball in the front and
then
glove.
The baseball glove in the back.
Okay.
And, I wanted an outfit that would expand if he did, because you're never sure how big the babies are actually going to end up being. So.
Sure. And this would go over a coat or go on
exactly.
Go with whatever, inside, outdoor, whatever. You think this is good fun. And then the fact that you're all dressed in baseball, too, is kind of a neat thing. So if this is going out on the road, then you can be the team.
And it was an easy costume for me to do.
Okay. I have another one, because my little granddaughter was dressed as, I think in the picture, as a chili pepper or pumpkin or something.
She was adorable.
But here's my other granddaughter, which is so sweet. And what we did is we made her a little strawberry.
How adorable.
Here is the strawberry. And I think this is kind of neat, because it's a neat shape, because this shape could be adapted to any
You could do anything.
And you could put this over a coat or over pants or over under. Yeah. So let's turn around. Ella, you're so sweet. And here we go with the Velcro down the back. So it really is a very versatile. In fact, you could be a wonderful strawberry. Oh, I've got to stop. Thanks so much for coming. So we'll have to show all the people out there how to make this, because they want to have little babies like this and dress them. Bye-bye. That's great. So what we did to make this, and will Aiden just sort of watch as he'll just kind of stay here. So what we did, we created kind of a pattern that is kind of a big bulbous kind of a thing. So when you think about a bulb, it could actually be a flower. If you think about it, it could be a flower. It could be a devil if you made it in red and had the devil hat on it.
Yeah.
It could be your bunny rabbit. I mean, anything that's sort of pumpkin could be a ladybug. So when you start thinking of this sort of basic shape, and of course it could be longer or shorter, so it's very adaptable. And of course the back of it has Velcro on it. And we just pick up this one over here, and we can just have a look at it. Here we go. If you look, that's what it looks like. So this comes around with the Velcro on the back, so so that could be bigger or smaller,
and so
however you decide.
It would go over all sorts of different clothes, different shapes, different sizes.
It could go over your coat. We kind of decided a nice little fleece jumpsuit was kind of the perfect thing, because that's warm, and I think it's important if these kids are going out. You never know in this world what the Halloween weather is going to be like. It could be really miserable or good or bad, and if it's an indoor party, you're fine, but if you're out there on the street, it's kind of tough.
And what ages is it good for?
Well, I just thought probably up till... you just make it longer. Children don't get that much wider, as you will find out. They just seem to grow longer, so that will work. So basically, you're going to sew all these together. Decide on your color, sew them all together. You're going to sew a lining as well. And the trick about this is the lining is going to be shorter, because, of course, you want this to blouse a little bit. Yeah. So if you think about this, we're going to bring this lining down, and then this is going to fold up to finish. like that, and then your elastic is going to go through, and that's also going to create that sort of fullness, that poofiness.
And if you used a drawstring, it could work for a next child or a next child.
Yes, it sure could. It sure could. So here again, we've just sewn the shoulders, put the little collar on to finish, and just bring it out. And the joy, as you know, about sewing is that these kids don't really care. Nobody really cares. Things can be rough. They don't have to be finished. We're not going to worry about exactly all those things. But let me sort of show you what we sort of played with this black and white one. We said, hey, we could make, hang on here. We said we could make this into a cow. So you put some spots all over it. So you put a cow if you want. Or you could make, the little horns. This could be cow, could be the devil if you do them in red.
Right.
It could be, if we did the whole thing in white, it could be the bunny rabbit, which would be, would you like to be a bunny rabbit?
Be a bunny.
That would be quite cute. That would be good. It could be the little devil or Dracula. Oh, we have the tail. It could be a kitty.
Great.
So here's the kitty cat, and you could then put a little makeup on the face and do the kitty cat like that. We sort of did a little cape because we thought Dracula would be quite cute, so just have a little cape that sort of goes around the neck, and then the little Dracula hat that kind of comes down the point.
And
so
the fleece has enough body, you don't need to interface it?
No, nothing. That's the joy of this. And it doesn't, ideally you want to use the good fleece, but if you don't have the good fleece, it's just Halloween, and it's just, although this may turn into be a costume deal. You may have to do this more than once. You may have to have a whole costumes twice a year or 3 times. This is just too much fun, I think. So if you got babies, I think you should be dressing them.
Well, it's a lot of fun.
Great. Okay, we've got more fun things coming up, so we've got to let you go with your little bunny rabbit thing, but we'll be back right after this. It's hard to beat the babies in the Halloween costumes, but this show has got a little bit of something for everyone. And right now we're going to talk about sergers, because I think sergers are a great implement, and I have a serger specialist, Cathy Brady. And I think one of the things that you say is often an issue with sergers, that people ask the difference between some of the stitches, for instance.
Exactly. A lot of people get confused about the flatlock stitch, which every serger is capable of doing, and the cover stitch, which you need a specialty machine to be able to do that.
Okay.
So a machine that has cover stitch capability.
Okay, so when would I use one, and when would I need the other, and how do they work, and what do they look like?
Well, one of the differences, and one of the reasons people get confused, is from the wrong side, or the opposite side. A cover stitch and a flatlock do look an awful lot alike.
I think that's what's confusing.
So you see that when you look at perhaps this row of stitching or this row of stitching here, where you see the upper looper threads are going back and forth, it actually looks an awful lot like the cover stitch, which is on the flange of that pillow. Again, we've got the stitches going back and forth. Now, this is actually what's considered the wrong side or the back side of a cover stitch, but you can make it very, very decorative, as a flatlock is, by putting in a decorative thread.
I think the neat part about this is that there really is no right or wrong side when you start using it in the decorative sense, because then you say this is the opposite side of this.
Exactly. When you have the loop side, or the loop side of your flatlock, you've got the heavier thread, but when you go to what we call the ladder side, you're using the needle with a decorative element here, and you're creating like a little ladder to be able to crawl up.
Okay, so I can certainly see the uses in decorative, because, it gives you such a look with little effort. The thread is really, if you use one of the nice decorative threads, the rayon threads, they're shiny, they look good. So where would you use it in a practical sense?
In a practical sense, originally flatlocking was used in garment construction in the industry to take two pieces of fabric and butt them together, so you don't actually have the bulk of 3 or 4 layers in a seam. So you've got two pieces of fabric that are butted together, and they'll actually stay together. It will not come apart.
Okay.
You can't create that effect with a cover stitch, because on a cover stitch you have needle lines with the looping underneath.
Okay.
And if I tried to use that to hold two pieces of fabric together, I don't have coverage on both sides. It goes from both pieces of fabric, so my fabric's going to flop open.
Okay, so what's the practical use of a cover stitch then?
Cover stitch is used a lot for hemming in garment construction.
Sure.
So if you're working with any form of a knit, whether you're going to hem a sleeve,
slinky
a bottom,
knits, or any of those
exactly,
things,
because it's got built-in stretch, which we can't get from the conventional sewing machine.
Right. Okay, so let's then sort of begin looking at some of the items here. I think this one is truly fascinating because this is near and dear to my heart. This is chenilling. I can see that.
And this is chenilling done on a serger, not done on a conventional sewing machine.
Okay.
So we're using our 6mm cover stitch.
Okay, is this
is what this is.
Okay.
So what we've got is 4 layers of cotton fabric that we've taken and layered together.
But again, whether it's cotton or whether it's whatever.
Or the rayon, exactly. The secret to the success here is that it has to be done on the bias.
Sure.
So all of your stitching is done at a 45-degree angle.
Grain, this being cross grain, this being 45-degree angle, and as long as you do that, that's I think experiment, don't you think? I mean, try a little sample to see before you do the whole thing, just to see what's going on.
And I even find that changing the order of the layering of the fabrics underneath impacts the effect on top.
Sure does.
What's going to show the most.
Yeah. And washing it, of course, once you wash it. So obviously, then this is the width of your stitch.
Yes.
Which side is the top side when you sew this?
Traditionally, you would consider this the top side, and this is the side that you would be looking at, and this is where you would be serging along.
Okay.
And when you look at the other side, this is the side that's on the bottom.
Okay, so now which is going to be the right side for this?
This fabric actually creates this vest.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So what you want to do in the secret of chenilling is to make sure that you don't cut through the bottom fabric, of course.
Yeah.
So you want to be able to get through. My bottom fabric is the blue one.
Yeah.
So I want to go 1 layer up, push through them with my cutter.
Yeah.
And I've got my 3 layers with my bottom layer held intact. And what you find is as you go through using the cutter, it becomes very, very quick and easy to be able to get through all of your layers.
And quick and easy because it went quickly. It would go quicker than on the sewing machine. It's just that you can go speedier, or you can.
Well, the interesting part on the serger is that I'm sewing 2 lines of stitches. On the sewing machine, you're only sewing one at a time. So I'm twice as fast.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Okay, so that is one use then of this stitch. Okay, now we'll get back to this one.
So this is the flatlock, and this is the one that every serger is capable of doing. It doesn't matter what kind you have. So 3-thread, 4-thread.
Okay.
Doesn't matter. So what we do is we set the serger up to be able to do a wide flatlock.
Shall we go and try that?
Sure.
I'll maybe bring this along because this is an awfully good example too of stitches and a way to use embellishment stitches. I mean, it's quite a fun little garment.
So what I've created here is our sample is just a very quick and easy book cover. So taking layers of fabric, different colors, I've layered them all together, and I've just used a 4-thread conventional serge to be able to create it.
Okay.
So I've serged them together, pressed them open. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that fold, and this is one of the things that people also don't realize, that with a serger, you don't always have to serge just on the cut edge.
Like you don't have to cut that edge, or you do want to. Which way?
You don't need to actually have a cut edge. Anytime that you can fold the fabric, you can put embellishment inside the body of your project. It doesn't always have to be on the outside.
So would you get rid of your knife there, or would you just...
You're actually serging with what's called, I consider it the ugly stitch, but it's called hanging the stitch. So half of your serging is actually on your fabric, and the other half is hanging off. So you're nowhere near the knife.
Yeah.
You're actually to the left of it.
Good, okay.
So just having the needle pierce...
So now we've got decorative thread in one and...
Exactly. Regular serger thread in the other. So what I'm creating is the ladder being, or the loop, being the decorative part of my stitch.
And again, this advisor will tell you what to do and break the thread. But that happens sometimes.
Yeah, it does. It actually got caught. Yeah. So one of the nice advantages is my sewing advisor will tell me that for my 3-thread flatlock, what my tension setting should be to be able to work with my decorative thread.
Okay.
So when you pull it,
it
becomes a flat stitch.
Flat lock, yeah.
So you just serge all 3 elements of it.
Yeah.
And do the rolled edge.
All right, let me see on here. What?
So these are very, very similar, done with the cover stitch. So this is, again, a very decorative thread. This is the untwisted version. This is the twisted version.
We are pretty well out of time. I think, we've done it. We've had a great day. We've had a great job. So
it's been wonderful.
Yeah, so we've got such a variety of things you can do on your serger. You're going to have to get one. So we'll see you next time because we keep doing this. Write me, email, check our website. Definitely come back and watch next time, and we'll have so much fun all over again.
To receive the companion book for this series, send $19.98 to the address on your screen or call 1-888-MacPhee.